All right, so are you ready to dive into some pretty unexpected territory today?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Okay, good. Because, those podcasts that are designed to teach English as a second language?
Sure.
Well, we're going to kind of raid one today for insights. And not just about the language itself,
Okay.
but also about, like, everyday situations,
Okay.
social situations, and how we use words to navigate them.
Interesting.
And it's really cool because it's like we're eavesdropping on someone learning the subtle cues and the unspoken rules of a whole new culture.
Yeah, you're right. It's a unique perspective for sure.
It is.
And the scenarios they use are so relatable.
Oh, they are.
Like, picture this. You run into someone that you met briefly, like at a conference or something.
Right.
And you have totally blanked on their name.
Oh, yeah. We've all been there.
It's like, what do you do? How do you recover?
Exactly. And this podcast is dissecting, like, the phrases people use to get through that awkward moment.
It's true. Those little phrases can reveal so much about social dynamics.
Yeah.
You know, the psychology of memory.
True.
We use language not just to convey information,
Right,
but to smooth over those bumps.
the bumps in interaction.
Yeah, exactly.
But there's this one phrase that really caught my eye, and they kept highlighting it in a bit of a hurry.
Oh, yeah. That's a good one.
It is, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Like a polite way to excuse yourself when you're rushing.
That's true.
So instead of being like, oh, we got to run, they give examples like, can you drive faster? I'm in a bit of a hurry.
Yeah, or I can't talk right now. I'm in a bit of a hurry.
Yes, exactly.
That's a good one.
And it's so much softer than just saying, like, I'm late.
It is. It's more polite, for sure.
It is.
You're acknowledging that you're imposing on the other person's time.
You are.
By being in a hurry.
Exactly. And like a way of saying, I'd love to chat,
Yeah.
but I can't right now.
Right.
And then there's the phrase, contact details.
Oh, that's a classic.
Yeah. Pretty straightforward, like phone numbers and email addresses and all that.
Yeah, just the basics.
But it struck me as interesting because it's like, in our hyper-connected world, that phrase has become so essential.
It really has.
It really has.
Because it's all about that shift, right? From face-to-face
Right.
to constant digital communication.
Yeah.
Contact details have become the currency of relationships.
Oh, I like that.
You know, both personal and professional.
That's so true.
Yeah.
The currency of relationships. I love it. Okay, so the phrase that really made me think, though, was slipped my mind.
Oh, yeah.
It's so evocative, right?
It is. It's like the information literally slid out of your brain.
It did. It just left out.
Yeah.
And they gave examples like, I'm sorry, I forgot to respond to your email. It just slipped my mind.
Oh, yeah.
Or even funnier, oh, no, it's your birthday. It completely slipped my mind.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah.
I like that one.
And it's like we're giving ourselves permission to forget by using that playful language.
We are. We are.
It turns a potential faux pas into a shared joke.
That's right.
So instead of saying, I forgot, which sounds really robotic,
Right.
slip my mind adds humor and makes you more relatable.
It softens it.
Yeah, and that's what this language podcast is all about.
What's that?
It's about helping people sound fluent and comfortable
Yeah.
in these everyday situations.
Right. So it's not just about the accuracy.
Yeah.
It's about understanding the nuances of communication.
Yes.
Like how to use humor to build rapport.
Yes, exactly. And, they have this segment called Putting It Together.
Okay.
And they take these phrases and they throw them into real-life scenarios.
Oh, fun.
I know, right? So the first one is around here, which means like close by.
Okay.
So you might ask, like, is there a bank around here?
Yeah.
Or there's a great restaurant right around the corner.
Right around the corner. That's a good one.
And it's interesting because it makes this assumption of shared space.
It does.
And shared knowledge.
Yes. You're inviting the other person into your understanding of the local environment.
Yeah. And like you're creating this little micro community right in that moment.
Exactly.
Okay. So then they move on to a phrase that, let's be honest, we all use terrible with.
Oh, yeah. I use that one a lot.
You too.
Like you're terrible with numbers.
Or I'm terrible with directions. I always get lost.
Yeah, I'm terrible with names.
That is a good one. And that raises this interesting question about self-deprecating humor.
Yeah. Why are we so quick to point out our weaknesses?
I know, right? Is it a way to disarm others?
Maybe.
Or manage expectations? Is it just like a cultural quirk?
Could be all of the above.
Yeah. And it's almost like we're preemptively apologizing for any potential mistakes.
We are.
But in a way that makes people laugh.
That's true.
It totally takes the pressure off.
Yeah, it does. And speaking of feeling the pressure,
Ooh, what do we have here?
they go onto this Fluency Builder segment where they analyze greetings,
Oh,
like
right.
how's it going?
Oh, yeah.
And they contrast it with the more formal how are you,
Right.
which can feel stiff in certain settings.
You wouldn't say that to like everyone you know.
Yeah.
Like I feel like how's it going is perfect for casual settings.
Definitely.
But you wouldn't use it with your boss.
No, you'd get some strange looks.
You wouldn't.
Maybe even lose your job.
Yeah, it's true. Like choosing the wrong greeting is a social faux pas.
It is for full, like showing up to a party in the wrong outfit.
Totally.
It throws everything off.
It does. And it's fascinating because these subtle choices signal levels of familiarity and social status.
You're right. It's like a secret code
It is.
that tells you about the relationship between two people.
Yes, exactly. And they even share their own stories about forgetting names.
Really?
Yeah, which is something I think we've all experienced.
Oh, definitely.
Like one of them talked about forgetting a family member's name at a reunion.
Oh, no.
Can you imagine?
Oh, that's rough.
It shows that even native speakers struggle with these everyday situations.
Yeah, and it reminds us that it's okay to make mistakes.
Yes.
Even in our own language.
Yeah, and the other host talked about using business cards as a memory aid.
Oh, that's a good idea.
I know.
Smart.
It's discreet.
Yeah.
You can just like glance down and be like, oh yeah, that's their name.
Yeah, it jogged the memory without you making a big deal about it.
Exactly. And it's all about those unspoken rules of professional etiquette.
It is.
Like you have to maintain composure.
Right, even when you're internally panicking.
Even when you're dying inside.
That's right.
Because you forgot their name.
Yeah.
And it's so funny because they share these anecdotes with humor and self-awareness.
Yeah.
And it makes the topic feel less intimidating.
It does, for sure.
And more relatable.
Definitely. And that's the key. It makes it more human.
It does.
It reminds us that even in formal settings, there's room for human connection.
Yeah.
And a little bit of laughter.
A little bit of laughter. I like that.
Yeah.
You know, it's funny how these like seemingly simple phrases like in a bit of a hurry or terrible with can reveal so much about the social dance we do every day.
Yeah.
You know?
It's true. It's not just about the words themselves. It's about the intentions behind them.
Yeah, like we're signaling our
Right.
intentions and managing expectations and trying to smooth things over.
Exactly. And what I think this language podcast really nailed was
Yeah.
how greetings play into all of this.
Uh-huh.
Greetings are such a basic part of human interaction.
Yeah, they really are.
But we rarely stop to think about how they shape our perceptions of each other.
It's true. And they contrasted how's it going with the more formal how are you?
Yeah.
And it made me realize how much context really matters.
Oh, it does.
Like using the wrong greeting.
Yeah.
It's almost like committing a social faux pas.
It is. Think about it like saying, how do you do
Right.
in a casual setting?
It sounds so weird.
It would be bizarre.
Yeah, like wearing a ball down to a barbecue.
Exactly. It just wouldn't fit.
No, it wouldn't.
And it's not just about formality either.
What else is it?
These greetings can signal so much about the relationship between two people.
Yeah,
Like their social status,
Right.
even their cultural background.
it's like a secret handshake.
It really is.
It is.
And what's even more interesting is how those greetings evolve over time.
That's true.
Like, how do you do? It used to be the standard greeting in formal situations.
Right.
But now it sounds
So,
almost archaic.
yet it does. It sounds so stiff and formal.
It's a reminder that language is constantly changing.
It is.
What might have been considered polite or appropriate in one era
Mm-hmm.
could be totally out of place in another.
Yeah. And it's not enough to just learn the rules.
No.
You have to keep your finger on the pulse of like social expectations.
Absolutely. And that's where observation becomes so crucial.
It does, yeah.
Pay attention to how people around you are using language.
Right, like how they're speaking.
Yes. Notice those subtle shifts in tone, the informal expressions they use,
Uh-huh.
the nonverbal cues that accompany their words.
It's like you're a cultural anthropologist.
Exactly.
Studying the rituals.
Yes.
And these unspoken codes?
The codes of everyday communication.
That's so cool.
And the more you observe, the
Yeah.
more you'll start to pick up on those subtle nuances
Right.
that make the difference between sounding like you're reading from a textbook
Right.
and sounding like a native speaker.
Oh, yeah. And speaking of sounding like a native speaker,
Yeah.
one thing I really appreciate about this language podcast
Yeah. What's up?
is how they incorporate real-life anecdotes
Oh, that's fun.
into their lessons.
Yeah. It
It's-
brings the language to life.
It does. It really does.
It's one thing to learn a phrase from a textbook,
Right.
but it's another thing to hear it used in a real life, sometimes embarrassing situation.
Oh, yeah, totally. Like when the host was talking about forgetting a family member's name at a reunion.
Oh my gosh.
I know.
Oh, I've been there.
We've all been there. I once totally blanked on my neighbor's name.
Oh no.
I know. And it's the one I see every single day.
Every day.
I know. It's like your brain just takes a vacation at the worst possible moment.
It really does. It's like, what?
Yeah, it just checks out.
Poof, gone.
Exactly. And those kinds of stories really normalize those awkward moments.
They do.
And they remind us that even native speakers make mistakes.
We all do.
We do. It makes language learning less intimidating and more relatable.
Absolutely. It makes it more human.
And then the other host was talking about using business cards as a memory aid.
Oh, yeah. That's a good strategy.
It is. It's like a discreet way to just jog your memory without, like, drawing attention to your lapse.
It is. It's like a little cheat sheet
It is a little cheat sheet,
to help you navigate those tricky social situations.
especially in, like, professional settings,
Yeah,
where it's so important to maintain composure.
exactly. You don't want to look flustered,
No, even if you are inside.
even if you are. Exactly.
And you know what else I noticed?
What's that?
They never shy away from the awkwardness.
They don't.
They lean into it.
That's great.
I know, and they use humor
Yeah,
to make it feel less threatening.
that's so important. Humor is such a powerful tool.
It is.
For building rapport
Uh-huh.
and diffusing tension.
Yes.
It allows us to acknowledge those awkward moments and connect over shared experiences.
Exactly. It's like saying, hey, I've been there too.
We're all human. We all make
Okay.
mistakes.
And that shared vulnerability,
It can be so bonding.
it can. It really can. And this whole deep dive has got me thinking about the power of vulnerability.
Really?
Yeah. Like by sharing our own embarrassing stories or just admitting that we're terrible with something, we're actually creating a space for genuine connection.
It's counterintuitive, isn't it?
It is.
We often think we need to present this perfect, polished image.
Right. To be likable.
Yes, but sometimes it's those moments of vulnerability that make us truly relatable.
And endearing.
And endearing, exactly.
It's like by letting go of the need to be perfect,
Yeah.
we're giving others permission to do the same.
We are, and that can create a more relaxed and authentic atmosphere for communication.
For communication, yeah. So as we kind of rail up this deep dive into this language podcast,
Yeah.
I'm struck by how much it's made me think about, like, the power of empathy in communication.
That's a good point. It's easy to get caught up in the mechanics, you know,
rules.
the grammar, the vocabulary.
Right.
But this podcast really highlighted the importance of understanding
Yeah.
the emotional undercurrents of communication.
Yeah. And I think that's what makes this podcast so interesting.
Yeah.
Is how they shared their own experiences with forgetting names or
Right.
feeling awkward in social situations.
And they weren't afraid to admit it.
Yeah.
Which made it so universal, so human.
It's like they were saying, hey, we've all been there.
We have.
You know, it's okay to feel flustered, a little embarrassed. We're all in this together.
Exactly. And I think by acknowledging their own vulnerabilities, they actually created a space for genuine connection with their listeners.
Yeah, it made the lessons feel more relatable and less intimidating.
Less like a lecture
Yeah,
and more like a conversation.
exactly.
You know, and I think it's also a really good reminder that we don't have to be perfect
Oh, no,
to be effective communicators.
not at all.
Sometimes it's our imperfections that make us more endearing and approachable.
Yeah, and they also use humor so well.
Oh, yeah.
To, like, disarm those awkward moments.
Absolutely.
It's like instead of pretending those moments didn't happen, they embraced them.
They did.
It found, like, the funny side.
The humor in it.
The humor, yeah, and I love that.
Yeah, humor is just such a powerful tool for building rapport and diffusing tension.
It is.
And it lets us connect on a more human level.
Right, like, hey, life is messy and that's okay.
Yeah, let's just laugh about it together.
Let's laugh about it together. Yeah.
Right.
And this whole deep dive has really made me think differently about making mistakes.
Oh, yeah. How so?
Well, instead of seeing them as failures, I'm starting to see them as, like, opportunities for growth and connection.
That's the growth mindset right there.
It is. It is.
Embracing those challenges, recognizing that we're all works in progress.
Right.
And finding the humor in those stumbles along the way.
Yeah, and that's not just a valuable lesson for language learners.
No, it's for anyone
Yeah.
who wants to improve their communication skills.
Exactly. Because communication isn't about perfection. It's about progress.
It is.
It's about, like, refining our skills, experimenting with new approaches.
being willing to laugh at ourselves along the way.
Being willing to laugh at ourselves, yeah.
It's a journey, not a destination.
It is a journey.
And the more we embrace, you know, the messiness,
The vulnerability.
the humor of it all,
Yeah.
the more connected and compassionate we become.
So as we wrap up this deep dive,
Yeah.
I want to leave you with this thought.
Okay, I'm
The
listening.
next time you find yourself in an awkward social situation,
Uh-huh.
remember the lessons we've learned from this,
Yeah, this unusual source.
this unexpected source. Yeah.
Right.
Embrace the vulnerability.
Yes.
Find the humor in the moment and never stop learning.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Oh, thanks.
Because the more we understand about communication, the more we can bridge those gaps between ourselves and others.
Right.
No matter what language we speak.
And that's something worth striving for.
I think so too.
Yeah, me too.